Hello and welcome to the Kunsthistorisches Museum. My name is Daniel Uchtmann and I'm very happy to meet you here virtually, but I will ask you, and I would be very happy if you come with me to the various collections and especially to the picture gallery. This is a former imperial collection. Every single object was commissioned, bought and collected by members of the Habsburg family, the ruling dynasty in Austria for more than 700 years. They were the ruler about the Austrian countries, but also emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. And so this is a former imperial collection. Only the best was good enough for the Habsburg to collect. We have a lot of collections. For example, the art chamber, the Kunstkammer, the biggest and most important collection of its kind in the world. We have also a collection of Greek and Roman and Egyptian antiquities. We have a collection of arms and armories, coaches and carriages. This museum was erected between 1871 and 1891. We have two architects here, Karl von Hasenauer and in his time the most and best known German architect Gottfried Semper, originally from Hamburg but living in Switzerland. He came to Vienna to erect this magnificent architecture. We have the entrance hall, standing now here in the entrance hall, and behind me you can see the grand staircase. The stairhouse is the biggest room in the museum, with paintings by Gustav Klimt, for example, and it's kind of a palace of art. Please come with me upstairs to the first floor and we will explore some of the highlights of the picture gallery. This is one of my favorites. It's a Flemish Baroque painting from the 17th century, around the middle of the 17th century. We are here in the last years of the 30 Years' War. It is painted by Jacob Jordans, a Flemish painter, collaborator of Peter Paul Rubens. And he's one of the most favorite painters in his time in the southern Spanish Habsburg Netherlands. And this is a private party we can see here. A party on the 6th of January, Epiphany, and the day of the three kings, the three magicians. And we can see it's a good party. They have a lot of fun. There is a game, and the game is there is a cake. Everyone gets a piece of the cake, and there's one bean in the cake. And who finds the bean in his mouth will be the king of the party, the king of the bean. This is also the title of the painting. And we can see the king on the right-hand side, the older man, and he found the bean and he got the crown. And we can see it's a crown of paper. And he has the privilege to choose his queen of all the ladies attending the party. And he chose the most youngest one and the brightest one. She's sitting next to him around the corner of the table. She's also wearing a crown and a necklace made of eggs and sausages. And she has a fork in her hand. She's the only one eating with a fork. And there are a lot of other people. Also, I think the wife of the king, she's sitting on the very left side of the painting, looking around the other people, just watching what her husband is doing. But also she has a lot of fun. And the game is also that everybody has to take a piece of paper, and on this piece is a job. And everybody has to do his job. For example, there is the singer. The singer is in the very center of the painting, and he raises his glass, and he seems to shout something, to say something, or sing something. And we can see also what he is singing or saying. It's the letter O. That means the Koning drinks, the king drinks. Everybody has a chance to say that, and if somebody says that, everybody has to drink, also the king. So there's a lot of drinking, eating, having fun. Also some erotic elements on the right-hand side. We can see this lady showing her breast, or people are getting nearer to each other, kissing. We can see also a mirror on the very left side of the painting. And there's the question, what can we see in this mirror? I would suggest we can see the back head of the young lady looking into our direction, but the other head, the face in the mirror, is not on the rest of the painting. So it's like a kind of game of the painter showing us something in the mirror that's not on the painting. And there are other jobs to do. For example, the medicus, the doctor, the physician, on the left side. He is turned into our direction and he's, I have to say it, vomiting on the ground. So he needs a doctor actually, and that's, of course, it's a joke. There's also a little girl drinking wine, and next to her a dog sniffing and looking to her. A dog can be a symbol of senses, because the painters just not try to do something just to watch to, but also to deliver other senses like eating, touching, and hearing. And there's also a cat on the right-hand side, just below the king, a little bit separate from the other figures and also from the dog. The cat seems to be a little bit grumpy. And I will come back to the cat in a minute. If we look to the center of the painting, above at the wall, we can see a Latin speech. And translated to English, it means, nobody is more similar to a fool than the drunkard. This little sentence was made by a Flemish author of this time, very popular author in this time, and his name was Jacob Cats. So the cat, the grumpy cat, is Jacob Cats himself. Separate from every other figure and really grumpy, and that means he's not okay with this party, how it's going on. This painting was made in the 30 Years' War, a time of cruelty, death, and hunger. And this painting is also, in this case, a symbol of having fun, to enjoy life. But on the other hand, it's also, it has a morality, a moral sentence, because it says, don't do it too much, be modest. We are in the middle of a war, so you can enjoy your life, but just be modest. It's a very huge painting. It could be that it was a public painting, seen by a lot of people. Jacob Jordans made several paintings of this topic. This is the biggest one, enlarged while he was working on it. And it came into the collection of the Habsburgs, into the collection of Archduke Leopold Wilhelm. He was the stadtholder of the southern Netherlands in the middle of the 17th century, and he was also the most important collector of this picture gallery. We are going to the next room, to the next painter. His name is Peter Paul Rubens. He is the master in the 17th century, not just in the Netherlands, but in whole Europe. We are here in a room dedicated to Peter Paul Rubens, one of two big rooms full of his works. We have here in Vienna the highest number of works by Peter Paul Rubens. He is by far the most important painter and artist in the northern part of Europe in the 17th century. He's the Baroque painter. He was never in Vienna, but we have so much works by him here because he was court painter to the regions of the southern Netherlands, to the Habsburgs. And his works are not just here in the Kunsthistorische Museum, in the former Imperial collection. His works are also in the Academy of Fine Arts, in the Albertina, and the princely collection of Liechtenstein. I would like to show you two paintings by him. The first one is the very famous head of the Medusa. It's one of the favorites here in the museum because it's so scary. It's just the head, not the story. So it's more a still life of this myth. We can see the head and a lot of snakes coming out of the head. She was in former times very beautiful, the Medusa, but a goddess punished her. Her look is deadly. Who looks in her eyes will become stone. And that means she's also very alone, isolated. And that makes her angry. And she must have been surrounded by a lot of statues, by former men and animals. It's like a statue garden. So it's also a myth of art itself. And the point is, if you look to this painting, you should be surprised by what you can see. You should not learn anything about the story, but it's a surprise and the shock if you look to the painting. We have also a myth here in the museum that says that this painting was covered by a curtain and it was in the office of the Director General. Let's say at the beginning of the 20th century, but nobody knows really certainly. And if you wanted to see this painting, you have to make an appointment with the Director General. You come into the office and you have to put away the curtain. And then you are very near to the painting, and that must have been a shock for the people at that time. Now we go to the next room, also full of works by Peter Paul Rubens, and I would like to show you the master himself and his wife. We have just seen an early work of Peter Paul Rubens, the head of the Medusa. Now here in the next room we have later works by him. Also a self-portrait, his very last self-portrait. He was born in 1577 in the German city Siegen and died in 1640 in his beloved hometown Antwerp. He was, at the occasion of his death, the most popular and the most wealthy artist in his time. He was married twice. His first wife died in 1635, and after 4 years he married again. And we can see the couple here more or less next to each other on the wall. On the right-hand side we have the master, and on the left we have his wife, his young wife, Helene. Helene was 16 when she married Rubens, and he was 53. But nevertheless, it was really a great love story. She was his muse. She appeared almost in every painting he made. And this is the last self-portrait of Peter Paul Rubens, just 2 or 3 years before he passed away. And in almost the same time, he also made this portrait of his young wife. It's a very unusual portrait because she's almost nude, and everybody knows her and how she is looking. And so it is a really private painting. I suggest not hanging in the dining room of the house of Peter Paul Rubens. It is in the sleeping room, a private painting. And she slips into the role of a goddess, the goddess of love, Venus, Aphrodite. We can see one arm is around the breast and one arm in the middle of the body, and that's a typical pose of Aphrodite. And he is showing his own wife as a goddess of love, and that's a compliment. It's not just the goddess, she's also slipping into roles of the Bible, of the Old Testament. There is Susanna or Bathsheba, and both are stories about young women taking a bath, and also of voyeurs, of old men looking to them. And we are in the role of the old man of the Bible. We are looking to the young Helene. Originally, on this painting, there was a bassin with water. She was going to take a bath. But Peter Paul Rubens decided to cover this bassin, just showing the red pillow. It seems that she is turning around. If you look carefully to the sleeve, we can see this sleeve is not just hanging down, it's in the air. That means she's turning around. And that also means this is the last second we can see her in her full beauty. And the next second she will turn around and we will just see the back with a coat, with a fur. So it's also a symbol of vanity. Everybody went older and everybody is going to die. But this painting is an everlasting symbol of beauty and love. We have seen paintings from the 17th century. Now I would like to accompany you to a next room with paintings from the 16th century, and we will switch to Peter Bruegel the Elder, also one of the most important painters we have here in Vienna. We went back in time. We changed from the 17th to the 16th century and to the most important painter of the Netherlands in the 16th century, to Peter Bruegel the Elder. We have here in this room the biggest collection of his paintings. A third part of his oeuvre is here in this room. This makes this room so precious and so important, also to all the visitors from all the world. Every single piece is an absolute masterpiece. And especially this one is very well known. It's the very first winter painting in history of art. It's the first time that a painter just wanted to depict climate, weather, temperature. And it's not just one of the first paintings ever doing this, it's also the best known winter painting in history of art. And it's the beginning of a category of paintings later will be known as genre paintings, showing everyday life of the peasants, of the people from the country, not showing people from the city, noble men or rich people, just normal people. But it's not painting for peasants, it's painting about peasants. Of course, made for the rich people in the city. We can see a little village. We are ourselves coming into the paintings with the hunting men. The hunting men are going to the right-hand side, down the hill, but that's not our way, I would say. I don't know this way. I would hurt myself and slip. My way is along the houses and between the houses and the trees, down to the village. I can pass the little village, then I have to turn to the left because there is a frame and also the mountains, and my target is the city at the frozen sea. It's so cold that also the North Sea is frozen. And we can see, if we go with our eyes over the paintings, so many details. It's so much to see on paintings by Peter Bruegel the Elder. And we can also feel how cold it is. There is new snow, and paintings by Peter Bruegel the Elder have also very special acoustics. These paintings are very quiet. I could imagine the only thing what I can hear is the bird in the air or the dogs sniffing around in the snow. Or maybe also the fire on the left-hand side in front of this house. It's not a fire to warm the people. It's made for a pig. They will throw the pig into the fire just to burn the bristles. And later they will cook the pig. That's a typical action in this time, in the winter. Slaughtering pigs. And that was a symbol for the people in the 16th century just for January or February. But we don't need this symbol anymore because we can see it's winter. But it's the very first time that we can see it in a painting, in history of art. We are here in the center of this architecture in the museum, in the Kunsthistorisches Museum, in the dome, the cupola. And if we look above, we can see portraits of the members of the Habsburg family, beginning with Maximilian I in the 16th century and going around through the centuries to the 19th century to Emperor Franz Joseph, who commissioned this building. And the whole museum, as also the surroundings of the museum with the imperial palace, is a monument for this dynasty. We are now in Italy, in Rome, and we have a look to a painting by Caravaggio. He lived around 1600, and he's kind of a founder of the Baroque painting. He revolutionized the art of painting. Before his time, we have the Manierism, the late Renaissance, almost the whole 16th century. That means art and paintings were very complicated and had strange colors. And he took the art of painting down to earth again. He wanted the people to understand his paintings at first sight, and he had a very realistic style of painting. He achieved it in reducing the color, and he also painted in a way of light and darkness, of light and shadow. So we have the impression that these paintings are very, very realistic, like photos since the 19th century. The biggest of our three paintings by Caravaggio is this one, the Madonna of the Rosary, painted around 1608. We can see also the commissioner of the painting on the left side as an assistant to the saint, Saint Dominic. But we don't know who is the commissioner. We just can see him, but we don't know his name. Beneath the divine, we can see also normal people kneeling on the ground, wanting to take part of the rosaries given away by Saint Dominic. And we can see they have dirty feet. This is an altar piece made originally for a church or a big chapel. But this altar piece, this painting was never installed in a church in Italy. Below this painting would be the altar of a church. And when the priests elevate the bread and the wine in the Mass, in the Holy Mass, people could see dirty feet behind it. So I can imagine not everybody wanted to see this painting actually in a church. It's more an artwork than a religious work. It came immediately to the art market in Europe and was sold to the Netherlands. And Peter Paul Rubens and Jan Bruegel the Elder, together with other artists, collected money and they bought this painting. So it came to Antwerp. And later in the 18th century, it found its way to Vienna, into this imperial collection. And it's the beginning of a new era, the Baroque art. And it began with Caravaggio around 1600 in this very realistic way. We are traveling now from Italy to Spain, to the next generation, also 17th century, to Velázquez, court painter to the Habsburgs in Spain. Diego Velázquez was court painter to the Spanish king, Philip IV, Habsburg himself. The Habsburgs reigned also as emperors in Central Europe, but also until this time as kings in Spain. Diego Velázquez made one of his latest portraits with this young lady, the Infanta in blue. Margarita Teresa was her name. She was not the eldest daughter of the king. The eldest daughter married the King Louis XIV of France. But the second daughter was promised to her own uncle, Emperor Leopold I, here in Vienna. This painting was made for her uncle, just to get an impression who is going to marry. We see a little girl at the age of 8 years, but she seems to be older, almost like an adult. It's not the person herself that is important here. It's just an infanta, a princess. So she seems to be an adult, but she's in real a kid. This painting is one of the latest works by Velázquez, just finished in the year before he passed away. And it was a very private painting, not for a gallery, just for the family. It's a family portrait. On the one hand, we have heirs to the throne, we have princes and princesses. But on the other hand, we have also little human beings with own feelings. Not the happiest one, but they have to appear like an adult. This makes this art very, very personal on the one hand. On the other hand, it's stately art for showing the world and the family the future empress. It's one of the masterpieces here in this collection, and also one of the masterpieces of the whole Baroque art. The Impressionists loved this kind of brush stroke because they learned from it how to do their painting in the middle and the second half of the 19th century. So Velázquez became an idol of the Impressionists in France. This young lady was only 16 when she was married to her uncle, Emperor Leopold I. She gave birth to 5 children in every year of her marriage, and she died in the age of 21. Only one daughter survived and grew up and married to Bavaria. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the tour. I thank you very much for listening, for your patience, and I thank you for accompanying me through this great gallery here in Vienna. Have a nice day. I hope you will have the chance to come to Vienna to visit this museum one day, sooner or later, in person. I would be delighted to welcome you here and to meet you here in person. Thank you very much and have a good day.